Well, hey everybody, we're back. Fire the cannon. Took a week off. We are back and we are ready to go. And a lot of things going on this week. We're going to talk about it all. We're going to talk a little volleyball to start the thing off with Coach Minka Hubbard. We're going to talk some cross country with Josiah White as they look to wind up their season with the middle school meets this week and then the varsity district meet next week. And then we'll talk with, of course, Coach Ryan. Talk a little football as the district play starts off this week. The guard football team. We're going to talk all about that today. Uh, but thanks again for listening in to Fire the Cannon. We are excited that you guys have made this a regular part of your listening. The numbers show that you guys are listening to it and you're sharing it with your friends, and we appreciate that. And we hope that in some way this podcast is helping you get to know our coaches more, first of all, but secondly, get a chance to kind of hear from them. Uh, I hate to say behind the scenes. That's a bad phrase, but in a way, it is behind the scenes. You're getting to hear a little more than maybe what you see, and I have teenagers too, and maybe what you hear from your teenagers is not always the full story. They tell you what's going on, but they don't tell you everything. It's a chance to kind of hear a little more about what's going on. But I do appreciate you listening here to us on wherever you're listening to, and thanks to NetSN for helping put this together. Uh, Today is we're recording this on Monday, October the 9th, which of course at Brook Hill is Founders Day. And tonight, of course, is the big Founders Day celebration where we obviously take the day to recognize and remember, I don't know, that's a better word, to honor our founder, Steve Dement, not remember, that sounded bad, but to honor Steve Dement, the founder of Brook Hill, and his vision and what he trusted God to do with Brook Hill. And then we always have a honoree on Founders Night. And today that honoree will be Bart and Christy LaRocca. And if you've been around athletics for the last few years, you obviously know Coach LaRocca. He helps out with our middle school football teams. He helps out with the varsity football team, coaches our outside linebackers with both groups. But his wife Christy too has been super involved when their kids came over a few years back. Um, Man, they have just been involved in so many things and have been a huge supporter of not just the athletic department, but the school in general. And my favorite thing about Bart and Christie is that they never really want any recognition. We were talking with Bart today at football practice as we practiced this morning, and Bart was not real big on us talking about it, and that just says a lot about him that he's willing to do all this all for the kids. It's definitely not for him, and so it is a chance to honor Bart and Christine. We appreciate them and everything they've done and what their kids have meant to our school. And then, of course, Jonathan Evans will be speaking tonight. And of course, by the time you hear this on Tuesday morning or later this week, you will have either heard him or heard about the way he speaks. He's the chaplain for the Dallas Cowboys, and he'll be speaking tonight at Founders Day. So it's a big day in the life of our school. And if you've been around, you know how important it is. And it's a great night. I know Coach Dawkins always says this to the coaches, and I agree with him 100% that I, every time I leave Founders Day and the celebration that night, I am reminded of all the reasons why I love being a Brook Hill. There's a ton of them, but it just reminds me of so many of them to be in a place or at a place that is so willing to follow after what God wants for the school, what God wants for our kids, and just to trust in Him and trust that He will lead us down the right path. And He's done that. And so it'll be a great night tonight. A lot of other things going on as well. Next Monday, October 16th, is the 27th annual Brook Hill Golf Classic. Now, I wanted to get Coach Dawkins on to talk about the golf tournament this week, and that was all in our plans. But Coach Dawkins, it's kind of cool, by the way, he does this. He's out of town. He and his son take a trip every year, and just happened to be this week. So he's out today, so we couldn't do this. But that golf tournament next Monday over at Eagles Bluff. And it's a huge day. The last time I checked, I think there were just a couple of spots left. If you want to play in the afternoon next Monday, feel free to reach out to the athletic department about that. But otherwise, you guys are doing a great job of filling the golf tournament. If you still want to be a sponsor or have raffle items or whatever it is, any way you want to help, reach out to the athletic department and share how you'd like to do that. And we'd love to have you be a part of what we're doing. Um, but that's next Monday, October 16th. Um, I mentioned NetSN a minute ago, and one of the things that has been great about the partnership between uh, Brook Hill and NetSN has been the willingness of NetSN to put as many things about Brook Hill out on the internet as they can. And they've done football games for us. They did one volleyball game a few weeks back, and now they're going to do a couple of different things. Uh, Tuesday, October 10th, which is today, if you're listening to this on when it comes out, the volleyball team has a match at home against All Saints at about 6:30. That game is going to be broadcast on NetSN on their YouTube page, or if you download the NetSN app, I would highly encourage you to do that. We'll talk more about that later. But the NetSN app is a place where you can get all the live streams they've had of our football games and now the volleyball game tomorrow night, Tuesday night, and you can watch that live or you want to go home and watch it afterwards? Go. I do that every time they broadcast a football game. I come home on Friday night, turn on the game, and watch it and listen to Brett and his crew. They do a great job. And actually, as an added bonus, tomorrow, Tuesday, the volleyball game against All Saints, I'm going to be jumping on and helping Brett broadcast that volleyball game. So it'll be, if nothing else, we'll be cheering for our girls to win. But if you want to hear two guys who probably are not qualified to call a volleyball game, well, make sure and check that out on NetSN. And then this Friday, NetSN will be with us at Dallas Covenant as the football game kicks off at 7 o'clock. And you know, the first district game, we'll talk about that with Coach Ryle, but uh, it is a trip. It's a difficult trip to make because it's right off 635. It is a hard place to get to. So if you're not going to be making that trip, that's fine. Sit at home, uh, turn on your TV or your phone, your computer to YouTube, and uh, or the NetSN app, and you can watch the game live with Brett Sweeney Friday night. Um, I mentioned the volleyball game tomorrow. Coach Mika Hubbard's going to mention this in a minute when we talk to her, but senior night for volleyball is tomorrow night, Tuesday, October 10th, as they take on All Saints. So make sure you check that out. As we honor four seniors, I believe Mia Rabova, Gracie Dawson, Carly Ogletree, and Dre Tonroy are the four seniors that'll be recognized on Tuesday night against All Saints. So a lot of things going on, and make sure you follow our social media pages. You can get all the information as things change. Obviously, there's always things changing. You can follow that. One more quick note I do want to make mention of before we get into our interviews this week with our coaches is that TAPS last week dropped the playoff brackets for fall and winter sports. So football and volleyball playoff brackets are out now. You can go on taps.biz and look at brackets and find those and kind of see the dates and the calendar of when our playoff games might be. And also winter sports. Winter sports, they kick off practice next week. Basketball and soccer will start practicing next week, and we'll start integrating those things into our podcast as we go along. Um, but their playoff brackets are out too. But the other thing about TAPS is they let us know that on Wednesday, October 11th, that's what they're telling us. We'll see if it happens the way they're saying, is that the 2024 to 2026 realignment information will come out Wednesday. Now, that is it's an initial alignment. There's a period there where teams can appeal and they can, there could be some changes made, but the initial alignment is usually pretty close, and that should be coming out Wednesday, October 11th, and that will decide where we will play and who we will play against over the next couple of years in all of our sports. So just a ton of things happening. I mean, there's so much I'm forgetting. We had homecoming last week, and congratulations to our king and queen, Osagia Zigbee and Kaylee Fitzgerald on that. And I know the kids had a great time at the dance Saturday and just all the things that went on. Powder Puff. By the way, we should have been talking about the Powder Puff game. Some of the girls were outstanding in the way they played last week. It was fun to watch them. But a lot of things going on there. So anyway, let's move on. Let's talk a little volleyball. And Coach Mika Hubbard, man, what a job our volleyball staff has done this year. And kudos to Coach Hubbard for in her second year in charge, really changing some things that needed to be changed. And not that it was bad before, but anytime you're a new coach coming in to take over a program, there are things that you want to accomplish and there are things you want to change, and it takes some time to do that. And last year was that transition year for them. And this year they sit at 30-9. They have 5 matches left. They're sitting in a driver's spot for the playoffs. We're going to talk about that with her in just a second. But just what a year they've had, and I hope that you have come out and watched what they've done, and man, if you haven't, you got a chance on Tuesday, and then again next Friday, and then they'll be in the playoffs. Hopefully, if things go the way that they should. But man, it has been fun to watch them and their confidence and their skill level has improved and all that kind of stuff. But let's sit down now and let you listen in to my visit with Coach Mika Hubbard. It's been a couple of weeks since we've talked to you, Coach, and a lot has gone on in volleyball, and we're going to talk about that. But first off, I guess the senior trip week kind of gave you a chance to kind of to kind of sit back and reload as you head down this final stretch here that we're going to talk about today. But kind of um, how did you guys manage that bye week? How did you kind of navigate what the girls did and how they kind of refreshed their bodies a little bit during that week off?
Yeah, it was a little different this year with us having four seniors out for that week. So we just gave them some time off. We shortened practice just a little bit, and it actually gave us time to get the younger ones kind of more individualized instruction, and we kind of took it to personalized practice to each girl, and it allowed us to focus on them individually a little bit more.
Man,
So
and
I,
it
yeah,
Well, it showed, and you're playing some younger players now as the years gone on. Some of those younger girls have kind of taken on some roles, and even not even younger in terms of years, but experience.
right.
Obviously with Cameron Buskey and Gemma James been out there some. Carly Ogletree's been playing a little more over the last few weeks as she's progressed,
Mhm.
being a new player.
Mhm.
So it's not just the age, but it showed. So and that's the unfortunate part about volleyball, Coach. I've said this a few times to you, but I thought in your last, since that break, you went to McKinney on that Saturday and lost
Yeah.
3-0, and then Prince of Peace at home on Tuesday night. But man, that score just doesn't tell the whole story because even though it was
No.
3-0, it was a 3-0 they had to work for to
Right.
get there. And that was the story in both matches, right? I mean, when you went there, they were all three close too. But talk a little bit about how you've seen the gap shrink between us and that what what people would consider the top notch of Prince of Peace and McKinney because it is if you're watching, if you've come to the gym and watched, it is definitely shrinking.
Yeah, I think that, from last year to this year, we do have more experience. I think that we've been able to reform that culture, the mindset of, we might be considered the underdog, but we have something to prove and we deserve, to compete and to win just as much as any of these other schools, and
Hmm.
just kind of tweaking that mindset that we can do it too. We're not going to give up. And we're going to be knocking at that door till the very end, I think has really made the difference.
Man, it was so fun to watch them against Prince of Peace last Tuesday, or yeah, last
Hmm.
Tuesday, just to see how they competed and really, I know especially the second game, I believe it was that we were up, 4 or 5 points, and they came back and won. I think it was 27-25, whatever it was,
Hmm.
20-26. But just
Hmm.
to see that happen. But then Thursday night, you went on the road and you took care of business against Covenant, which is really what I've been the most proud of this group is and a lot of our teams right now, but just handling the business they're supposed to handle, right?
Right.
Like you can't let losing to those two teams back to back cost you a third one, and it didn't. You went on the
Right.
road and swept Dallas Covenant. And now you get a chance to. We'll talk about this in a minute, but the playoff road is all out there for you if they
Right.
continue to do that, Coach.
Right. I totally agree. And that's something that we talk about too is, having those two games back to back at the front of district, it's hard to overcome because, they have high hopes, we have expectations, and, playing those games so close and still not falling our way, it's hard to overcome. And like you said, refocus and take care of what you need to take care of when you need to do it. And we were able to do that. So that's something they should be proud of that they accomplished.
Absolutely. And so here's kind of the way this week sets up, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I've just kind of done the math in my head, but I think this is correct. Tuesday night, you're at home against All Saints, a team that you beat 3-1 back on September 15th. Thursday night, you go to Vanguard. You swept them back on September 19th. And
Mhm.
if my math's right, you win both of these matches, you at least clinch a playoff spot headed into the last week, which will be huge, not only for the program, but just to ease your mind going into a week next week where you got three matches.
Yeah, I think you're right in that calculation.
Yeah, but talk a little bit about that because I think in the bigger picture, getting to the playoffs for this program, especially a few years back, we go to the state tournament and then we kind of hit a spot where it was like we just saw a drop off right
Mhm.
overall, and then now we're kind of back on that. But can I talk about what that means for the program, not just for this group, but for your younger kids and building things back up and what that looks like?
Yeah, I think it's obviously a huge step. We're in what I would consider one of the toughest districts in TAPS, and those spots there. It's a battle. It's not an easy given, and you really have to fight for it because it on any night, any team could win. So it really means something more, I think, to earn that spot. And just going forward, I think it just sets a precedence of, the expectation and the level of play that we're at. And that's where we're going, and we're only going up from there.
And you're sitting right now with 5 matches left. You're at 30-9. For us to win 30 games is something that I don't know that I've ever seen it done in the time that I've been here, especially so the first time in 9 years at least to get that many wins. Even the state tournament teams weren't winning 30 games. Um, Talk a little bit about what it's been like to. What I've been impressed with, and I think you would probably agree with this, just the confidence that your girls are playing with. It's not like we show up and hope we win. It's no matter who they're playing, they're pretty much expecting to play well and expecting to win.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that our preseason schedule early on really plays into that. Um, getting 30 games in one season alone, let alone, as early as we have, is hard to do, especially with, our tournaments. We were in a couple of 3-day tournaments, which really helped up that game count.
Yeah,
And, the caliber of teams that we were playing, they were pretty tough teams. So for us to have that tough of a preseason and tournaments, I think it really helped them get where they are now, confidence wise, for sure.
absolutely. So 5 games left. Two this week at home against All Saints on Tuesday. JV's at 5:30. The varsity will start at hopefully around 6:30. And also, if you're listening, the game's going to be on NetSN. They're going to be here for the last two home games. They will be with us. Um, to put that out there for folks who can't make it. Then the
Yeah,
next
and
week is it? Go ahead.
I'm
I'm sorry.
sorry, it's senior night,
It is senior night this
tomorrow's
week,
senior night. Hmm.
so make sure you're there for that senior night on Tuesday night. And then the next week's a little different. You'll go to Shelton next Tuesday, and then the
Hmm.
the rare Thursday Friday doubleheader at Dallas Christian
Yeah.
on Thursday, at home
Hmm.
against Dallas Christian on Friday. And those, if we're talking about taking care of business, if you win these next three, those two games will determine not just the
Seating.
playoff spot, but seeding for third and fourth, which
Hmm.
could be huge
Hmm.
down the road.
For sure.
So
It's
it'll
going
be
to be
fun.
exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait. I tell you, it's the crowds have been great. I've enjoyed
Really.
the last few home games have really been entertaining, and of course tomorrow or Tuesday being All Saints, being an in town rival, there'll be a bunch of people there, and then next Friday it's a big night. It's Dallas Christian will be here for volleyball and football on the same night. So
Yep.
make your plans now to get there and be a part of both. I'm excited about it, and Coach, I'm happy for you guys to win. Getting to 30 wins is huge, but we want to make it 32 after this week and 35 after next week. But either way, we just want to let's get in the
Definitely.
playoffs and let's see what happens.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the goal right now.
All right, Coach, we appreciate it. And we'll see you this week.
Thank you.
All right, that was Coach Minka Hubbard, and man, make sure you're out there as they take on All Saints on Senior Night on Tuesday, October 10th. And then, man, if they can take care of business this week, they'll clinch that playoff spot. Uh, I've checked my math. I'm 98.8% sure that I'm correct on that. That 2 wins this week would guarantee a playoff spot for our girls, which would be just a great thing moving forward. So that's Tuesday, and then Thursday at Vanguard. And of course, as a reminder, the game on Tuesday night on NetSN. You can check in as Brett Swinney and myself will be bringing you that one. Okay, So moving along, let's talk a little cross country with Coach Josiah White. A lot of things going on. Middle school has a couple of big meets this week. High school is getting ready for district. But let's listen in now as I was able to visit with Coach Josiah White. Coach, how are you today?
Doing well. Yeah.
Man, we were at a football practice this morning, and we started at 9. And I saw you guys were out there way before us, so you guys
I don't
were
know.
getting your work in.
Yeah, I don't know about way before, but yeah, we had a good morning practice. The kids got to sleep in longer than they usually do, and then we enjoyed the great weather this morning. It was really nice.
It was nice, and yeah, I guess we talked about that last time we visited about the differences in training and the weather and how that changes things. If I'm going to run that far, I want to run when it's 60 instead of 90 for sure. We'll go with that. So let's talk about a lot of things. A lot of things going on in cross country since we visited last, and even going on this past week. Let's start with the middle school because I do want to go ahead and mention what's going on this week. One of the things that I believe you and I may have talked about this, but if not, we have with other coaches. But Coach Dawkins is really big about us putting together these state middle school contests, whether it's basketball or cross country or track or
Mhm.
whatever it is, just an opportunity to give our middle school kids a big event to work for at the end of the year. That's actually coming up this Saturday. That meet will be at Brook Hill. Talk a little bit about that meet, what time it is, how many people you get coming if you know, and if anybody can get involved, how can they do that?
Yeah. So we will be at Brook Hill on Saturday. Starting the first race starts at 8:30, and that'll be the girls' race, and then the guys' race is going to start at 9:10. So right now, we've got 13 teams that have signed up and registered for that. I'm about to check with a lot of those teams today. Here, if somebody wants to come out, you've got the times. Again, we've got a great course. It'll be the same course that we ran for the Warrior Run. So I think those who are coming out pretty familiar with it. I think our kids are really excited for it. Last year, uh, they had a really great showing, and that's something that we've talked about. This whole season is preparing for state, and we want to run our best at the state meet. So both our guys and our girls, I think, are excited for it and ready to run our course again. And that's kind of cool because they're familiar with it, but also having the Warrior Run under their belt, they now want to beat their times from the Warrior Run and see how much they've improved here in our last meet of the season.
Yeah, for sure. And anytime you get to compete at your own school, that's a huge thing too. Just kind of a pride thing. The other thing, but it's not their only meet this week. It's not their biggest.
Yeah.
It is the biggest meet this week. But on Tuesday, you guys will be competing in the annual TAPSAC meet. TAPSAC, for those of you who don't know, is a Tyler area private school athletic conference. Well, I don't know what officially what it is, but I think that it sounds good enough. We'll go with it today. But it's usually the Tyler area schools in their meet, and that is this Tuesday morning at Faulkner Park in Tyler. Coach, talk a little bit about kind of how you're going to that meet, but also preparing for two meets in 1 week to run one on Tuesday and one on Saturday. That's got to be one of the faster turnarounds.
Yeah, definitely. This will be the first time that our kids did it. I'd say the benefit that our kids have and what we've done all season, we have 2 hard days every week. So our kids have already been used to for several weeks now doing a race, what we would call a race effort. So even though we may not be racing, we're still going really fast. We're at race pace or faster at least twice a week. So all that does for us is we get to kind of dial it back on those easy days. Just make sure that they are really easy. So we kind of modified today a little bit. Um, they ran about 800 meters less than what they would have run just to help keep their legs fresh. And then we didn't do quite as many strides. Faulkner and our TAPSAC meet has a pretty extensive hill. So our kids got to go there on Saturday. Of course, we're really blessed on our campus to have a great training hill, and
Hmm.
we did that last week. The kids, I thought, probably had for middle school our most consistent training week of the season thus far was last week. I was really proud of them. They all did a great job in the hill workout. So they're excited about that. We had a great turnout on Saturday for a Saturday morning practice for middle school kids. I was really impressed that we had as many come out. I think everybody that could come out did. So That was great, and I think they are not going to be intimidated by the hill.
Yeah,
It
good.
certainly seems that way. So
Um, that's the middle schoolers this year have done a great job in every sport, whether it's football, volleyball, cross country. I've been really impressed with how they've worked and their work ethic, and I know that you're excited about the future of the program with those guys. And as you mentioned, to come out Saturday morning and practice just because you wanted to is pretty impressive to get kids to do that in the first place. But that's middle school. Tuesday morning they'll be at Faulkner for Tapsack. Saturday the middle school state meet at 8:30 and 9:10. That'll be exciting to see how our kids compete in that. Let's talk a little bit about the high school because last week they competed over in Lindale on Thursday. I know you had some PRs. I think 5 is the what you told me you had. And we'll talk about a couple of
yeah,
kids specifically in a minute. But they're off now. They're as you would say, the hay's in the barn. They're going to practice over the next week or so, and their district meet is on the 19th, which is, if I'm looking at it, that is going to be next Thursday
yes,
uh,
sir.
in Rowlett. So they've got about 9 or 10 days before they're ready to go. But let's talk a little bit about Lindell, Luba, and Lenny. I know we're two. Luba Vinnick had a PR, and then Lenny. I don't want to pronounce Lenny's name wrong. I don't want to try. I'll let you say it wrong if you want to. But Lenny shaved off 2 minutes of the PR, so that's pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
yeah, he did. He ran really well. I was super proud of him. He's kind of been primed for this. He's been working harder. He's been a lot more consistent over the past 3 weeks. He missed our Jacksonville meet, so we didn't get to see, how he ran there. And then, comes back in Lindale and has, like you said, almost a 2-minute PR, which was really big. And he's been running consistently with our guys since then too. He had a great workout today, so I'm really excited to see how much time he can drop off on the 19th as well. And I think he will. If he does what he's capable of, I have no doubt that he'll run under 21. So, and then Luba, man, she's been awesome all season. I'm looking at her times, drops 40 seconds, drops a minute, and now drops almost another minute again. So she's been great, and I think she's one that again will continue to see her time drop going into district. She came in and I think was a little bit hesitant, but she's a really naturally smooth runner. There's not like a lot that I have to do with her as far as fixing her running form and fixing her posture. That's a great benefit to her, and it's shown throughout the course of the season. So I think she's going to have a great district meet as well.
Coach, when you go to that district meet, is there a limit on how many runners you can take? Are they to let you bring whoever you want? What is the format, I guess, of the district meet?
Yeah. So in varsity and really any meet that matters, even if we're looking at college, you take 7 runners. Your top 5 are going to be scored unless there's a tie at 5. Then you go to your 6th. If there's still a tie, you go to your 7th runner. And 7 is all that you're allowed. Um, Somebody may have been tied after 7 in the history of cross country. I've never seen it happen, and that's pretty rare. But that's why you take 7. So yeah, we'll go in with 7 runners for the guys and girls, and yeah, we're trying to qualify for state by being in the top 3 of a 6-team district.
So that was my next question. You can qualify as a team or an individual, correct? Is it kind of like a track where you can be a medalist and go in an event and the team can advance?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So our kids can qualify individually. Top 15 will get honorable mention, and then the top 10, I think top 10, if you're from 10 to 6, your second team, and your 5 through 1, your first team. So if any kids in the top 15, which we had guys and girls last year that were in the top 15, they can qualify for state. Um, or there's also a time requirement. So if you meet a certain time, you can qualify for state.
I got
And
you.
fortunately, we've got a couple of kids that have already done that, and it'd be great to get some more. And I honestly think we probably will at district.
You know anything about the course at Rowlett? Have you got a chance to lay eyes on it or heard kind of how does it lay out as opposed to what we've been running on?
Yeah, that is something I've sent an email to the gentleman at McKinney Christian who runs our district for us in 4A, and we're trying to get that. So it is at Springfield Park. It's kind of hard to know how they're going to lay it out. I can Google Earth Springfield Park, but I have no idea how
Yeah.
they're going to lay it out. So we're looking forward to getting that just as soon as we can. And then, yeah, I could definitely tell you a lot more. Is it going to be hilly? You know, we don't know quite yet. But that does play a factor. But either way, whether it's flat or hilly, we're really blessed and we can prepare for either.
Yeah, I was going to say you're definitely well prepared. You've done it all so far this fall. So, Coach, looking forward to a big
Absolutely.
week with the middle schoolers, and the next week with the district meet. And I know you're excited, and we'll visit with you next week, looking back on the middle school meets, and then looking ahead to district with the varsity kids.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Coach.
All right, long and time to talk a little football now because last Friday, of course, was homecoming. Arlington Grace Prep came to town, and Brook Hill able to get out of there with a 27-7 win. And man, just really, uh, we have put together a couple of really good performances in a row. I thought the Atlanta game 2 weeks ago was a really great performance by our kids at home, and the game Friday night against Grace Prep was a really strong performance as well. And just I don't say this to brag, but I am bragging a little bit. Defensively, we are playing so stinking well, and that's not to say we're not playing well on offense. I think Coach Rowell will mention here in a minute that um, that offensively he was frustrated with some things, but defensively, man, we are people who come and watch us now are talking about that defense, and it's fun to watch our guys compete on the defensive side of the football. So they had a great week again, another defensive touchdown, which was amazing as Aaron Packrenan got in there and scored on a fumble recovery. But let's listen to Coach Rowell talk about last week and looking ahead this week. Nice win on Friday, and I guess it's good to get a break because now we're headed into the stretch of the season, the home stretch.
Yeah, that bye did us good, and you always like to have a big victory on your homecoming night. So I think our kids played well this week.
Let's talk a little bit about that game real fast and talk about Grace Prep's a team that we thought we were going to see in the playoffs last year, and we knew a little more about them than maybe we would another opponent, and really in all reality could see them again this year in the playoffs. But talk a little bit about their team was kind of interesting because athletically they're really gifted there. They got some big receivers and the quarterback can throw it well, and but quite honestly, we just kind of answered the bell on Friday night.
Yeah, they definitely have great athletes on their team, but they were were real big up front. I think they were bigger than us at some of the positions, which is rare now that we have everybody back. But our defense responded really well. I was really excited about how they played. They played well all year. And like you said, they answered the bell on Friday. And offense, I was a little frustrated with how we put the ball on the ground too many times, but defense got us out of a lot of jams.
Man, you look at that a 27-7 win. There were a lot of people there homecoming night, obviously, but you mentioned the offense. I mean, there was really on both sides of the ball. There was some stuff we left out there. I mean, the one touchdown they got defensively shouldn't have happened. Just kind of they kind of lulled us to sleep a little bit. It was 27-0 late, and then offensively we probably left a few touchdowns out there. So we still, as well as we're playing, probably still hadn't put together a full game yet.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, when you're getting stopped on the 1 yard line, which I think we scored twice, but it is what it is. But there's some extra points and some missed opportunities that we had on Friday. If we clean those up, I think we're going to be a pretty good team in district.
So moving on to district, kind of a weird year. A lot of people I think know this, but not everyone. We started 2 years ago with 6 teams in the district, and then one got out before last season, and now one dropped out before this season. So we have 3 district games, 4 district teams. 3 are going to go to the playoffs. One's going to be sitting at the house. So really, you got to win one, and you want to get that one as soon as you can to not have to stress about it the rest of the season. But we travel to Dallas Covenant. They're a team that last year came to our place on homecoming, and man, I hate to use the phrase "we weren't ready," but I think that yeah, man, I don't know, Coach. You can use what phrase you want to, but we did not expect them to beat us last year, and we kind of let it get away from us. And I know that is causing a little more focus this week.
Coach does a great job with Dallas Covenant, and you're right. I don't think we were ready. We don't think we were mentally ready last year. And I was really excited about how our kids have come prepared. We've already had practice on Monday, and I think that we had a good day today. And we're taking these guys very serious. I can tell you, Coach does a great job. They play really, really tough, and they're very disciplined and do a lot of different things to cause some confusion on our end.
I know you've watched the film, obviously, but they played Dallas Christian this past Friday night, and they lost 55-0. I mean, the game wasn't close, but I'll tell you what, there was no part of them that seemed to be afraid of Dallas Christian. They were blowing and going and being physical with those guys. So it'll be a unique challenge for us, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you can see just schematically they're very, very sound, and they did some things that to take advantage of what Dallas Christian does. And I know they're going to do the same thing to us. They're going to have some things dialed up for us, and we got to accept that challenge.
Well, Coach, as we move into the district part of the schedule and with just 4 teams in the district and looking ahead a little bit, we've talked about Covenant, but obviously Dallas Christian and McKinney are still sitting out there. And talk a little bit, just real briefly, about kind of what those 2 teams bring to the table.
Well, Dallas Christian's obviously the team to beat in our state, returning state champs, and with a lot of kids returning. They're going to be a very tough team. I think everyone's pointing at them to be a team that we got to knock off. And I'm excited about that challenge. I know our kids. We've talked about this since before even the first game started. That if we want to achieve our goals, we got to beat them. And McKinney, on the other hand, is a team I haven't seen much on film. I know they've won 4 games this year, and this second year of their coach. I'm sure he has them a little sharper than they were last year. So I'm sure they're going to be ready to go as we get into week 10.
Friday night, Coach, kickoff is at 7 o'clock, a little bit different for us, a little bit earlier. And, one of the things that I've been telling people I've talked to is you may want to bring a lawn chair because there is very limited seating. And if you do manage to get in the bleachers, you're going to be looking at our backsides because it's right behind the bleachers. So a little different setup if you haven't been there. It will be different. The game will be on NetSN if you're not going to make it. Brett Sweeney will be there for that one, Coach. And they're looking forward to a big crowd Friday night to be behind our guys. I think our crowd have been really good over the last few weeks, and I think that they'll be there again Friday for us, Coach.
Yeah, I look forward to the game.
Well, thanks to Coach Ralph coming on this week. We had a little technical difficulty in the middle of the interview there, but we tried to make it work the best we could. I think you got the important part of what Coach wanted to say, but I do want to mention that we talked about it in the interview, but in our district now with just 4 teams in it, 3 of the 4 make the playoffs. The 4th one does not. So you got to win a district game to get in the playoffs, and obviously the big key for us would be to get a win this week and lock up a playoff spot. And now you're playing for seeding and hosting a game and all that as we go forward. But Friday night, 7 o'clock kickoff at Dallas Covenant. Bring a lawn chair is what I would tell you. It's an interesting setup that they have there at Covenant on the visitor side, especially that game is going to be broadcast on NetSN. So if you can't make it out, if you have family that's out of town, tell them to check out the NetSN app or the NetSN YouTube page, and you can see all that action on Friday night. I will mention that Thursday night, you'll have a chance to watch our middle school football teams and our JV football team. Middle school will take on All Saints Thursday. I believe the first game is at 5:30, I want to say. But you can check our social media out for that. And then the JV will be in action at 6:30 at home on Thursday against Winsboro. And speaking of JV, I got to throw this out there. Our JV went on the road last Thursday to Garrison and got a huge 56-28 win. And it kind of the score is closer than it really was. It was 48-14 at the half. They scored 48 points in the first half. They did a great job, and just a dominant performance by our young kids. So happy for them as they've been able to accomplish some great things on the JV side this year. Once again, thanks everybody for listening. I want to encourage you to download the NetSN app, podcasts. They have a ton of podcasts. I'm on a few of these guys. They do a pick'em show every week. I'm on that. They recap the week's games. Brook Hill's on the pick'em this week. If you want to get in on that, we'll talk a little bit. They have shows come out every Wednesday morning about the pick'ems. That show will be out Wednesday morning. You can hear that, and then they go live on Wednesday night to talk about games from the week before. And actually, the Brook Hill game was one of their games last week. So a couple chances to hear some people around East Texas talk about Brook Hill. I'm on there with them, but it's always fun to me to hear what other people think about our team and our kids and that kind of stuff. So make sure you do that. And then polls every week, pick'ems every week, all those things. Just download the NetSN app. And also make sure you follow our social media accounts on Instagram, Twitter /X, whatever it is now. and Facebook to get all the information, the latest information. And then finally, don't forget the Brook Hill Golf Classic, the 27th annual Brook Hill Golf Classic, Monday, October 16th at Eagles Bluff. Contact the athletic department at 903-894-5000, extension 5000, if you'd be interested in being a part of that. So we've covered a lot. I appreciate you being here, and we'll be back next week here on Fire the Cannon.